Good morning. Good morning. That's the kind of day I had. Good afternoon. My name is Scott Redler, Chief Strategic Officer at T3Live.com. Welcome to today's recap and look ahead. It is Wednesday. This morning, futures are up. I'm like, I have no idea why the futures are up. IBM's down $7. You know, Europe's bouncing a tiny bit compared to being down 1% and change yesterday. Asia's lower, and things just don't feel right. I'm kind of bearish on the brain, or short on the brain, but didn't want to get in trouble. First half hour, tech was strong. Looked like we might be able to break into that resistance line, and lo and behold, you know, about an hour later, things started to fade, and all of a sudden, you went from, you know, failing at a resistance to getting below yesterday's high, which is one of your signals that if you're long, get out. Some people might have been waiting to come off the resistance and then short once we broke below yesterday's high, and then wound up going negative, and we pretty much bled all day. So the question is, are we going to finally get downside follow-through, or is this range going to just continue to frustrate both the bulls and the bears? Because, you know, if you add to longs on strength, you're hurting yourself, and if you are in the money on your short and you press, chances are it's been hard to make money that way until something changes. So anyway, here's a chart on the S&P cash. Lo and behold, this descending trend line is still in control of the tape, and now we'll try and see what happens here. Does it finally break and close below support? Where is support? You have 23.28 and 23.22. At this point, you're below the 8, the 21, the 50-day. So that means you try and be cautious as far as from the long side. Not like here. Remember here? Broke above the 8 and 21-day, and we were trending above it, all the way also above the 50-day this entire time. Well, now for the first time, we're on the right side of the 50-day, and we're below the 8 and 21-day. So that tells me be a little cautious until the market proves it can go up again. Because who knows? Below this, maybe it corrects a little bit. Yes, that can happen. But overall, these are the rules. Again, some guys were fighting this short the whole way, and you don't short when you're above the 8, 21, and the 50-day, which basically we've been above all the way till about here. You could draw it that way. Some guys have drawn it this way. First time that we broke to the right of the 8 and 21 day was here, before hitting the 50-day and bouncing up, having this breakout failure. And here was even another type of breakout failure, not even strong enough to really push the envelope. So we'll see. Then you go to the indices because you try and look for clues. Okay, first of all, the diamonds. I know you have Goldman. I know you have IBM is already below the support. So not saying the Dow leads the tape. Usually it's tech, but the Dow is now below the 8, the 21, the 51 day. So you want to be careful. Okay, that is here. Sorry about that. Let me get that back into there. So now there could be an air pocket down to this spot where it broke out from, or not. Okay, here's where it broke out from for the election. That was a long time ago in a land far, far away. Here is when it broke kind of the momentum trend into that spot. So sell signal 1, sell signal 2. Now will we get downside follow through? That's what we'll look for, or see, or maybe. IWM still closed green today, but you know, again, you know, kind of fell into this spot. So we'll see, you know, if this is a source of relative strength moving forward or not. Okay, still above major support, so we shall see. The XLF, which is the banks, which I said don't buy. You know, we'll see what happens here. You know, we had a nice buy on this into this spot. That was when I was on fast money right around here into resistance, and that's what created this little right shoulder. I couldn't draw this on their charts because they have a different system, but this is what this looks like now. Will it break the neckline? I don't know. All I know is that the neckline has been a great buying opportunity over the course since 2012, but sometimes it does break, and if it does break it, all of a sudden you don't want to be in the way. And if it does, here's your next level, and that should bring down the broader indices. We shall see. Goldman Sachs, I talked about seeing 195 to, what's it called, 205. Well, the first thing it's got to do is test the 200-day first. Wasn't able to even fill this gap. It's still weak. It's below all the moving averages. It's an avoid. Just be very tactical. This already broke this, and it was already below that neckline that most of the other banks are not. BAC, we'll see what happens here. You know, I talked to, again, you know, they kind of got me and they said, oh, well, you know, 3 weeks ago you were on it and it's 1% lower. I'm like, okay, well, if you're a member of, you know, T3 Live and you see the virtual trading floor, RAA, you know, we were buying in here, and I actually forwarded the tweet from when it hit this 24 area that said, hey, you know what, could be at resistance, maybe not, but I'm getting out of it. Here's 5% trade, and then it rolled down. And now if you're still in it, though, this is your big support. This is what it's going to have to break in order to see downside. If it doesn't, then you know what, market finds a low. Maybe this will be one of your leading financial stocks. But for now, I would be very light both ways. This is still, it broke its momentum trend. It's below the 21-day, but it's acting better than a few others. The Wells Fargo bounce, we talked about getting up to filling the gap or 53.5. Well, pretty much, came back up, retested the 200-day in this and turned lower. If you bought it on the day that the whatever those guys are called, the insiders bought, you made a little bit of money. Now you wait and see. As far as high beta tech and regular tech, guys like Red Dog, you're short Apple. I haven't never seen you short Apple. Well, I'm usually not short Apple, okay? Great strategy after the gap up and right here. Another nice strategy when it hit the 21-day, held it, and then when it got above this to be long. And then finally you have a topping tail here, and now it's below the 8 and 21-day. I tried being long it, and it's been a little weaker. So I said, to guys on my site, hey, breaks below one, what's it called, 41. Maybe you want to be short or out. So I am short a little bit. I'm not expecting a massive move lower, but who knows? Maybe it wants to test a 50-day. This does have a little bit of a head and shoulders type look, but we shall see if more growls happen about the iPhone 8 being a month or two later than normal. Maybe it brings it in, prior to earnings. So, just with this wide range bar here, I figured, it's worth a try. There are some stronger things though. Tesla's a little bit stronger, hanging out here. Okay, so it held that level that we were talking about. So maybe that's something to be long. Amazon was weaker. So look at these divergences everywhere. Not falling apart, but into resistance. Again, if you were long from here, hopefully you didn't buy trying to break above this, because adding to it hasn't worked. So tomorrow you'll see whether or not we come in and we'll figure out what's next there. Facebook was also kind of strong, but if you added near the highs, it was a little tougher. Where were the highs? Right up here, but still above everything, still looks good. But then Netflix, we talked about the pivot. This is what I'm going to leave you with because I got to jump. It's getting late, actually. Here was that 148.30. I said, do not be long unless it gets above this and stays above this. I don't care what the earnings report says. I don't care if it beat. You can have the debate between the earnings report and the subs. Well, pre-market was above it and failed. Some of you guys got short. If that was you, congratulations. Some of you might have got short today when it broke this spot. Well, now, hovering on, bigger support. We'll see if this holds first time it gets here or not. All in all, though, below every moving average. And when high beta names like Netflix that have high valuations are above the 8 and 21-day, you try and be long. But then when it breaks below, you get out of the way and wait and see what's next. It might go down to the 200-day. It might just hold here. But I'd rather see you out of the way when momentum names break momentum moving averages. And that's that. Hopefully you had a decent day. It was not easy. We'll see if things shake up. You have the elections this weekend. You have a lot going on. You have earnings seasons happening. And let's just try and, key in on individual tactics, stay safe, and figure out if there's some kind of continuity in the market or just in individual names, depending on your strategy. Hopefully all these pivots have helped. They give you a spot to adjust on the bullish or bearish side, depending on who wins this short-term price level. See you in the morning. Have a good night.